People who get into physical confrontations with dogs to try and prove that they are the boss are usually just silly.
Dominance exists to eliminate aggression. There's no gray area.
Like, oh look, I'm getting him into a calm state. He needs to respect that I am the boss. You're just making the dog shut down.
Jared here with Species K9 for podcast number 10. Is that correct?
Let's call it number 9. Number 9.
We'll call it number 9. But the good news is we have now officially 101 subscribers. Thank you everybody out there for liking and sharing the show. And with me today is the one and only, the fabulous Taylor. How are you, man?
I'm sick of the soup that is the outdoors. It's soup outside.
You live in central southern Texas in the spring. So what are we talking today? What are we discussing? What kind of fun shenanigans are we going to do today?
We're going to piss a lot of people off. We're going to talk about dominance.
Before we do that, I have to give a shout out to my client, Rachel, and her German Shepherd, Nova. So she brought up to my attention the other day that the podcast was not posted by Thursday afternoon.
Oh my God.
So for those that don't know, we film this typically on Monday afternoons, and Taylor does her very best to edit this video and make it nice and clean. She does on the digital marketing side that she likes to be all creative about and severely OCD. It's me, I just post this shit. You just get what you get. But sometimes it might run a little late. We want to be consistent as possible, but bear with us. If it's not, we'll do our level best.
I have to edit out all your swearing. That's why it takes so long.
I swore once. So what is dominance?
Yeah, so dominance is first right to a limited resource, an unclaimed resource. We know that from studies that a certain scientist named David Meach has done, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I think first we need to acknowledge that a lot of people think that dominance in dogs does not exist. They think it's made up or it's been debunked, which is interesting. Do you have an opinion on why that is?
Yeah, several opinions on that. So what we're referencing initially right now is actually David Meach's study that he published in 1999 called the Alpha Status and Dominance and Division of Labor of wolf packs. And we're going to cue David Meach's video of where he actually says he basically wished he never used the word alpha because it's really been bastardized by the general community and taken out of context.
The term alpha isn't really accurate when describing most of the leaders of wolf packs because the term implies that the wolves fought and competed strongly to get to the top of the pack. In actuality, the way they get there is merely by mating with a member of the opposite sex, producing a bunch of offspring, which are the rest of the pack then, and becoming the natural leaders that way, just like with a pair of humans producing a family.
A large community in the dog world reference your 1999 paper as proof with dogs that there is no such thing as dominance, no such thing as leadership, and that dogs are not pack animals. Is your paper proof of any of those things?
Of course not. And that's a total misrepresentation which has been around since I published that paper in 1999.
So why is this alpha dominant stuff being debunked? I think this is one theory of mine. You have guys like Cesar Millan who come out who are all about alpha rolling, all this other crap. And he's on one far end of the spectrum, right? And then you have other people on the other far end of the spectrum who just want to argue with them and say it's not true. Neither one of them right, but you have that other perspective, right? Unfortunately, science have proven that yes, there is dominance, and it's simply about who's controlling the resources in the story.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that Mike DeBruzzo has ever said is, it's funny how nobody questions if submission is real. How can you have submission and not the logical opposite? So alpha rolling is not dominance. Going through a doorway first is not dominance. It's just
submission is not respect. So just because you throw your dog on the ground and hold them upside down and they give a calming signal doesn't mean I'm giving you the respect now, you're dominant. No, I just didn't want to die at this moment. And so they tapped out essentially.
yeah. People who get into physical confrontations with dogs to try and prove that they are the boss are usually just being silly. You could see tons of dog training videos where a trainer claims to be addressing like an aggressive dog, and they're doing all this stuff to try and get the dog on their back and be like, oh look, I'm getting him into a calm state. He needs to respect that I am the boss here. And it's like, you're just making the dog shut down.
Yep, very, very much so. Shutting down and also telling the dog that you are a jerk.
There was one other thing, the concept of helper dogs in dog training. It's a thing. I don't know if you've seen this, where a dog trainer will say, yeah, this is my dog, so-and-so. He's my helper dog. He helps me teach other dogs how to behave. And then what they'll do is they'll muzzle the dog they're supposedly training, and they'll just let their helper dog beat the crap out of him, essentially. You know, and they'll say, well, he's correcting him. He's correcting him in a way that he understands, as though that's fixing the problem. And that is also not dominance. Again, we're saying that physical conflict is not dominance. Physical conflict is physical conflict. The dog is going to submit, so to speak, because they don't want to die.
Yeah, that's true. There's actually a really cool documentary, Street Dogs of South Central, and South Central LA. It's all they follow like these wild like dogs and things around. And you see that there's actually a female that's in heat, these two males, like a Rottweiler, I think it's like a pit bull mix.
Yeah, the pit bull.
Mix, something like that. They meet up like this unclaimed resource, first right for breeding, and they square up like, hey, who's gonna have first right to mate? And they fight. And I think it's the pit bull loses. He gets pinned, and this big old Rottweiler's like, there, but he gets a calming signal. He turns his neck, he's typing, tongue flicks a few times, and Roddy just walks away. Nothing to do with him saying, oh, you're the man. It's just like, no, you won today.
Well, and that's the very next part of the documentary is the pit bull just goes right back and he's like, come here, I want to mate with the girl again, right? And it shows that like just because he gave up in that interaction doesn't mean that he's like, you're dominant, buddy, you got it. No, he just didn't want to die. If the Rottweiler was truly dominant, there wouldn't have been a fight in the first place.
Yep.
Dominance exists to prevent aggression. It's kind of like if you've got a teenager, if they truly believe in the authority and respect the authority of their parents, there's a lot less conflict because they understand how a relationship works. So you have the one end of people that think that dominance is about getting into a physical confrontation with your dog. We know that that's not what dominance is from looking at wolf packs. Dominance is simply about first right to a limited resource. And in the context of humans and dogs, a resource to your dog is anything that they find valuable that they believe is not infinite. So affection, attention, resting places, food, treats, toys, any of those things could be considered a resource. And if you have a dog that is prone to dominance aggression and you are not controlling the resources in the house, they're going to start displaying aggression in an attempt for them to be the one to control the resources in the house.
Everything you see in a domestic dog, you can see in wild canines, even including body language. They still have that brain of a wolf, like you're talking about. When there's resources that are unclaimed and no one's making the decision, your dog will default. Now, caveat, preface this, some dogs don't care. You can do everything wrong and have no problems. Other dogs, you have to do everything right to not have problems. And that's why people call us, because they do a lot of things wrong, and we help educate them to fix this and fix these problems.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second because I think that there's a lot of counter arguments that people are gonna bring up. So number one, comparing dogs to wolves is like comparing people to chimpanzees. We don't look at how chimps behave to study how humans behave.
Yeah, because we can't breed with chimps and have viable puppies. So your dog can mate with a wolf and have viable puppies, meaning those puppies can have puppies. They're not sterile. So Mother Nature intended for this to happen. They share 99.9% of the DNA. You can breed a tiger and a lion and get a liger. It is sterile. You can breed a horse and a donkey and you get a mule. It is sterile. Those things are never meant to happen.
And dogs branched from wolves like 14,000 years ago-ish. 14,000. We branched from chimps between 4 and 7 million years ago. This is not a comparable time frame. Another thing I think people will say is, well, if dominance is not what I see on 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, alpha rolling the dog or whatever, then what is dominance realistically?
Well, you control resources.
How do I do that? What does that look like?
So what's a resource to a dog? Affection, resting places, food, toys. So if we control all of those things, our dog now says, look, human is in control of all these things. Now, if we're providing for our dog on a continuous schedule, it's very predictable. So now they go, oh, human's going to provide. I don't have to ask for it or self-advocate. So you have all these resources laying around. You have toys everywhere. You have food bowls everywhere. You have beds everywhere. And this dog is going, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. I got to control it all. And a human walks by, I show aggression, that's my toy, that's my toy. Oh, that's my food bowl. But if we just eliminate that conflict altogether and we control it, now our dog goes, oh, human has it. They're going to provide and take it away.
And I think the next logical step there is somebody would say, well, why does it matter? Why does it matter whether or not I control toys or I'm dominant or whatever? Like, what if we all just get along? And going back to what you said before, there are some dogs out there, you can't say this enough, that you could do everything wrong. You could never control any resource and there would be no conflict there ever. But there are a lot of dogs out there that if you don't do everything right, something bad is going to happen. So when you see dog on owner aggression, most of the time, it's dominance aggression. When aggression is put on a member of the pack, so to speak, it's dominance aggression. And when you see people getting killed by their dogs, or kids being killed by their parents' dogs, or kids getting bit in the face, or all these different things, a lot of this stuff is dominance aggression. And often you'll see in these newspaper articles, it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. It just happened. Something just set him off, and we don't know what happened. Those phrases are usually an indication of dominance aggression because a human isn't thinking, I'm sitting on the couch, what's the problem with that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the number one cause on dog owner aggression in the home is over resting places.
Yeah.
Because again, we go back to that wolf brain, right? Your dog only knows that this spot was safe. They don't know that I live in a house, I have an HVAC system, sleeping. They just know this area was safe. And I want to protect that because it's a resource and I'm not going to share it, right? Dominance exists to eliminate aggression. And that was the problem with Schenkel's studies back in the 40s. He saw so much inter-pack aggression because they weren't really pack members. They were just mixed wolves thrown into captivity. And he just saw all this pack aggression because there was no set hierarchy. So anytime there was a resource, anybody thought they were badass enough to fight over it, fought over it.
Yeah, so something I wanted to touch on, you have a dog that is prone to really actually any type of aggression. If you have issues like that, no amount of obedience in the world is going to solve it if it's bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
I know that personally. That's how I got into dog training. I have a dog named Bowie, and she's got no problem putting teeth on people. And no amount of obedience alone solved it. Managing your life in a way that your dog understands is a foundational step to any obedience, particularly if you're having aggression issues. And I say that because I feel like that is the missing key for so many people that are dealing with issues like this. Dogs with dominance aggression are often misunderstood. Ronnie Coleman says, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift these heavy ass weights.
Yep.
It's like there are dogs out there right now that somebody is trying to solve their aggression problem and they're not willing to keep the dog off the bed.
Well, a big part of trying to solve aggression, and a lot of people forget, is they're looking at the behavior in a vacuum.
Yes.
And this is why I tell clients, we're going to look at the dog as a whole, and we're going to address the dog as a whole. And we're going to figure out the root cause of these things. What is the original intent of these behaviors that you're experiencing? And how can we redirect these behaviors in a positive way? Because most of the negative behaviors that we see in dogs is a dog self-advocating.
Yeah.
Like I have a client now I'm working with. We're talking about the resource guarding, it's a corgi that's having some resource guarding issues and some dominance aggression. And I explained to him, I said, look, we can control, we do a lot of stuff to can really control the resource guarding, but that's not a learned behavior, which David Meach talks about this. No matter what member of the pack had something in their ownership zone between their paws underneath their chin, and another member of the pack wanted to try to take it to them, didn't matter who it was trying to take it, 100% of the time they showed aggression. So when I talk about it, we can't rehab that out. Can't rehab out something that's genetically in the dog. We can control it. You know, if I break my shoulder and say, hey, doc, I'm really tired of having 2 shoulders. I'd really like to have 3 elbows. Can we make an elbow? You can't. You can't rehab it, right, to do that. But we can do a lot of things to fix that behavior and control it and make it much more manageable and safe for people. Most of the time, when we start doing those things, these behaviors diminish so much.
Well, and it's a great example of how, like, genetics play such a huge role in the behavior that you see in your dog. And dominance is one of the things at play that people have such little background in, you know. I think it's something that when we talk about it and put this information out, it has the potential to be, like, so helpful to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna piss a lot of people off. A lot of people are gonna be like, that was debunked, and Zach George said this, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But for the people that need to understand it and need to know about it, I think it's the missing key for a lot of people.
Oh, it is, because you can't argue with science. You can question it, but until you can debunk it in real life, it's real.
Yeah.
And you can have an educational discussion or debate, but until you can go publish a study that debunks what David Meach did, you can't talk to me. Because it's just your opinion. It's just your rhetoric. Now, if this podcast makes you upset, good. But ask yourself, why am I upset about this? Why am I having this emotional reaction to it? Is it because it's my belief and not science? People get upset in politics and religion because it's their belief. So this is me. And so you're offending me. I'm not offending anybody because this is not you. This is science. We're talking about David Meach's studies. But the problem is this stuff is so old that these people who don't even know who David Meach is. B.F. Skinner stuff. It's even older. The Scott and Fuller studies.
Well, here's a great example of people that claim to be dog trainers, but they don't do any reading. How many people say that they're Lima, but then say that they're force-free? Always force-free, no matter the situation.
Yeah, because they never actually read
Stephen Lindsay's works.
Stephen Lindsay's stuff. There's like, I don't know, 3 other volumes.
There's 3 volumes of work. Can attest, yeah.
Go read it. Like, don't take my word for it. Like I tell people all the time, don't take my word for it. Go read it.
Well, but that's the problem, is in many contexts, science is not as sexy as social media dog training. Like, that's the issue, you know? I don't want to read Scott and Fuller studies. I want to go, you know, watch some guy take a Malinois and supposedly fix them in one day. That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, that's the filter, right? That people don't understand. Remove dog training. It's just talk about, like, you see somebody on social media, they look great, and you're like, oh, I want that. Well, they fell in love with the process, counting their calories, training hard, doing their cardio, doing all these things. Training at the end of the day is really boring. You can make it fun with the dog, to play with the dog, but it's just that repetition over and over and over and over and over and over and over until the dog understands it, right? But it's boring. It's not sexy, it's not cool, but it's effective and it works.
Yeah, and that's so often why people, I think, shoot themselves in the foot. Is like, you telling me I have to do 12 weeks worth of work? Why can't I just drop my dog off and come back in a month and he's perfect and he's a robot? People don't want to invest time or effort into things because they're not in love with the process, like you're saying. It takes work to address aggression issues in the home, and part of that work is learning how to manage resources.
Yeah, like I had a client the other day, and they had a bite. They sent me like the security cam photo to show me the bite happening. Give them the benefit of the doubt, but if I had to guess, if I could look at the video right now live, those toys and things are still outside.
That's like how often we do consults and they're talking about, this is having aggression issues, and the dog on the camera gets on the couch right next to him and is getting affection and stuff, and you're just like, some things you don't have to capture in an intake form. Some things you can just see, you know?
Going back to like Rusty, like they found that dog on the street and they just felt bad for him.
They're my kind of people.
And so mom, being just the care person that she is, was just constantly giving him affection, loving up on him and thinking she's doing it. Her heart was in the right place. The problem was she started treating her dog like a kid, and the dog started treating her like a dog. And so next thing they know, husband comes home from work, wants to give his wife a kiss and say hello. Rusty's showing aggression. Because no, that's my human. She pets me and she touches me only and not you. And then we had to fix that. Like first thing I said, stop giving affection. And she's like, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm like, no, being bit by your dog is hard.
I want to reframe that because that's something I have personal experience with is like you think I'm loving my dog and you're telling me to not show love to my dog. I have to stop giving them affection all the time when they want it, right? And like, can we just reframe that for a second? Loving your dog is doing what's best for them. Loving your dog is doing what's best for them. Like we talked about this in the euthanasia episode. Sometimes loving your dog is making the decision that hurts you the most. Like I have to say goodbye to you. So sometimes, you're going to have to be like, sorry, you can't get on the couch if that's what it's going to take for me to start addressing this aggression issue. That was something I had to learn. Because like I'm a bleeding heart when it comes to animals. You told me you got to stop letting her on the couch. I'm like, do you know how much cuddling with this dog on the couch makes me happy? You're telling me to stop making myself happy? And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, you have to stop. You stop getting those things because it's what's best for her. And at the end of the day, is it about you or is it about doing the best thing for them so that you can have a good relationship with them?
When your dog initiating affection comes up and like nudges you and says, hey, pet me, they're controlling it. They're saying now it's time to pet me, and we got to control that and make it valuable so you can use it in training. If your dog comes over and says, hey, pet me, make them work for it. Sit down, come, heel, whatever it is, couple commands, good boy, good girl, love them up, give them some love. Your dogs have the mentality of about a 2 to 2.5-year-old kid. So you have a 2.5-year-old child running around your house with teeth. So you have to say no sometimes for the benefit of your dog. Trust me, bad enough bite, you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor, it's getting reported to the county, depending on where you live, it's going to be a nightmare.
If they bite the wrong person, you're losing your dog and you're getting sued. You don't want that.
Yeah.
I was telling my client last week, just talking about when the dog initiates affection, it's hard to send her away. And I was like, yeah, but this is the great thing about training is, you lower the amount of affection you're giving throughout the day so that you can give all of that love during training as a reward because now it's meaningful. And that's why training is so much fun.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a wrap. Again, everybody, we appreciate your love and support. Please share, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You are our marketing budget. So if you're enjoying the show, please share it so everybody can be a better dog owner, better dog parent. And as always,